icLAAo, I can't lose. No reality where I lose. Ever. Today is July 21st, Monday, July 21st, 2026, day 202 of the 100 push-up, 100 squat progressive challenge for a year. We're in the month of July, so we're doing 160 push-up, 160 squat every single day for this year. Then from next month, August, we're doing 170 push-up, 170 squat every single day for the month of August. Let's go.
Neck. Wells's behavior during the heist was unsettling. He remained calm, almost nonchalant, despite the explosive device around his neck. In a moment that added an extra layer of peculiarity, he even took a dum-dum lollipop from the counter, a bizarre act in such a high-stakes situation. With $8,702 in hand, far less than demanded, but all that was available, Wells left the bank, hopped into his car, and drove off. With the gruesome instructions in hand, Wells began his frantic journey. Driven by the ticking time bomb around his neck, he raced against the clock, following the enigmatic clues to the best of his ability. As he dashed from one location to another, he left a trail of bewildered people in his wake. Witnesses recounted his panic-stricken face and the chilling device around his neck. He didn't get far. Some 15 minutes later, state troopers spotted Wells standing outside his car in a nearby parking lot, surrounded him and tossed him to the pavement, cuffing his hands behind his back. The initial interaction of officers with Wells painted a harrowing picture. Wells told the officers that while out on a delivery, he had been kidnapped by a group of dark-skinned men who chained the bomb around his neck at gunpoint and forced him to rob the bank. Out of sheer desperation, he warned them, "It's gonna go off, I'm not lying." With no idea of how to safely remove the bomb, the authorities cordoned off the area and evacuated nearby civilians. As the minutes ticked away, the bomb squad was summoned. For 25 minutes, Wells remained seated on the pavement, his legs curled beneath him. His demeanor during these tense moments was eerily calm. 25 minutes. Suddenly, the device started to emit an accelerating beeping noise. Wells fidgeted. It looked like he was trying to scoot backward, to somehow escape the bomb strapped to his neck. The device detonated, killing Wells on the spot. Roughly 3 minutes later, the bomb squad arrived. The immediate reactions of the on-scene police officers and the arriving bomb squad were of horror and disbelief. Forensic teams were quickly mobilized to gather as much evidence as they could from the devastating site. The media, on the other hand, went into a frenzy. Law enforcement initiated their process of combing through a wealth of physical clues. They stumbled upon a 2-foot-long cane in Wells' car, which unexpectedly proved to be a brilliantly engineered homemade firearm. The bomb, too, was an exceptional example of DIY fabrication and assembly. The apparatus was composed of 2 elements: a metallic collar, bound by 3 bands, equipped with 4 keyholes, and a lock requiring a 3-number combination, and an iron casing that housed 2 6-inch pipe bombs filled with double-base smokeless explosive substance. The collar, which functioned on a hinge, secured itself around Wells's neck, akin to a massive manacle. Investigators could tell from their observations that its construction involved the use of expert-level tools. The device also housed 2 Sunbeam kitchen timers and a digital countdown timer. It featured wires that served no purpose, stickers with misleading warnings, and was designed to confuse those trying to disarm it. The device was a perplexing puzzle in itself. When the police eventually got their hands on the handwritten notes Wells had been given, it quickly became clear that this was not a random act of violence. But why scatter clues in public locations where they might be discovered? How was Wells chosen to be the hostage? For 7 years, the FBI was engaged in a scavenger hunt of its own, one that the collar bomber seemed to have planned as intricately as the one that had ensnared Wells. The only question was whether the feds would get any further than Wells had. The following day, a writer and a photographer from the Erie Times News made their way to the tower. The unpaved path that led to the tower was blocked by officials, but the journalists noticed a tall, broad-shouldered man dressed in denim Carhartt overalls walking back and forth in front of a house situated adjacent to the tower. The property's backyard stretched nearly up to the base of the transmission tower. The tall man was later identified as Bill Rothstein. At 59 years old, Bill Rothstein was a single handyman who had spent his entire life in the region. His speech was refined and articulate, reflecting someone who deeply valued his proficiency in the English language. Unfazed by the investigative activities transpiring just beyond his property line, Rothstein seemed undisturbed. The reporters, keen to secure a better vantage point of the situation, inquired if Rothstein might guide them through his property. He consented. They ventured into the dense foliage, but their view remained largely obstructed. After a visit lasting approximately 15 minutes at Rothstein's residence, they departed. To the casual observer, Bill Rothstein might have seemed like nothing more than an ordinary homeowner living beside a TV tower. However, it would soon become apparent that he was concealing a sinister secret. 29. West had a history of trying to escape from prisons. During one escape attempt from the Florida State Prison, he held a gun to the associate warden's head, stole his car keys, and escaped in the man's car. He was later captured and transferred to Alcatraz in 1957 at the age of 28. At Alcatraz, he talked constantly to the other inmates about escaping from the prison. In June 1958, Alan West arrived for his second stint at Alcatraz. In January 1960, Frank Morris arrived at Alcatraz in the cell next to Alan. On October 3, 1960, John Anglin was transferred to Alcatraz. And finally, in January 1961, Clarence Anglin also arrived at Alcatraz. On the night of June 11, 1962, all of them except West escaped from Alcatraz. When we look at their previous histories along with their escape attempts, it looks like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle perfectly fitting together. And once they were together, they set into motion a chain of events that would later be always remembered as the greatest escape ever from the world's toughest prison. Morris, West, and the Anglins planned their escape for more than a year. After their escape, investigators wondered which one of them had masterminded the plot. Though West claimed responsibility for the idea, he was the only one left behind to tell his story, and had a reputation for bragging. Experts say that with West's 8th grade education, he probably would not have been able to concoct